Hey y'all, it's Jennifer. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I am coming to you with a video that is all about my current TBR. And this is not necessarily everything that I own that is on my physical TBR. It is what kind of currently lives on my nightstand. When I say that, you may say, Jenny, that's only got to be 5 books. Y'all, it's way out of control. And so basically, I am making this video in the hopes that I will sort through these books and let them go to their home somewhere on a shelf. One thing about me, if it's not right in front of my eyes, I forget it exists. And so what happens is I build up piles of books as they come in the hopes that I'm going to be really excited about them, that I can keep that excitement up and thus push through them as they come in a little bit more quickly. And so that's one of my goals this year, is to read new releases or books that I haul almost immediately. Pretty much I would really like to get through them in the month that I pick them up. And I think here in month 3, we've already failed at that goal, but that's okay. I just want to take you through the current books that are kind of on my TBR, that are up on the docket for me, things that I am currently really excited about. And so often when I'm looking for a new read, I kind of look at this stack. And so let's go on and get into this because I think it's pretty varied. You may recognize some of these titles from past book hauls, but essentially all of these books are ones that I have brought in the past few months. We have a stack of current reads, which is all over the place. I am currently reading 3 things. Actually, maybe I'm currently reading 4. I'm sure we'll get to another one. But my current read right now is Jade City by Fonda. Some of y'all recommended this to me when you heard that I was into mafia type stories. And I just want to say thank you, because I had heard about this for a very, very long time, but I just always felt held back. I thought maybe for sure it really wasn't going to be for me, but it is. It so is. I am obsessed with this. I love the characters. I am just so entirely obsessed with this. I cannot put this book down. I cannot. So that's about where I am. I don't know if I'll finish it in the month. I'm filming this when we have about a week left in March, and I think the entire last week of March is going to be pretty hectic for me. So I don't really know how much reading will get done, but I am obsessed with this and I love it. And this sat kind of in the TBR stack for a little while, and I picked it up on a whim a couple of days ago. So glad I did. I am also currently reading The Atlas 6 by Olivie Blake. So I am buddy reading this with a friend, and we are just taking our sweet time with it, which I think is really great because there are many aspects about this book that are very dense. This is a dark academia, but it is also a fantasy book, and a lot of the fantasy is talked about in scientific terms, which to me is kind of confusing. It feels like it goes right over my head. So this is a book that I am currently reading and I'm really enjoying. I'm really enjoying buddy reading it. We then have The Secrets of Hartwood haul by booktube's own Katie Lumsden, Katie from Books and Things. And so I was sent this and I'm about right here, and I am really, really enjoying this. This is her debut novel. It's historical fiction set in the Victorian period, and it's kind of like a secluded house book, and there is a thriller element to it that I personally am really enjoying. And so I'm really, really enjoying this. I'm reading 3 bangers right now. The bad news is that I should really probably only be focusing on one of them in order to finish any one of the 3 by the end of the month. Next, we have Lone Women by Victor Lavalle, which was one of my Book of the Month picks this month. And this is a horror book, but it is set in the West, and I have heard interesting things about Victor Lavalle in the past that made me really curious when I saw Book of the Month picked a book of his. And so I am interested in this, and I really don't want to forget about it because it is a recent acquisition of mine. And so my goal is to really move through those pretty quickly when they come in. So I do kind of want to keep this not necessarily on the nightstand, but just somewhere that makes sense. I really need to become one of those people who truly has a designated TBR shelf. But for me, that would be multiple shelves on a larger bookshelf. Honestly, it would. But that, I think, would be a whole lot better than what I have going now, which is kind of where things are all mixed together. And that's how stacks like these develop, is that I want to keep all of my TBR books together. So this is one that is pretty high on my priority list. We have Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. And this is one that I am tentatively excited about because I do feel like last year in particular, I really stepped outside of my comfort zone, and I had a great time doing it. I found a lot of 5-star books that way, and I kind of have the sense that this might go there for me, but I also just don't necessarily feel like I'm going to like a contemporary book, especially one about gaming when I'm not a gamer. And so I feel like a lot of the references are going to go over my head. But if you have read this, please encourage me here, because I do think I'm probably going to like it. I just don't want to let it sit on my shelf for that long. Okay, there's a story here. This is Moon Witch Spider King by Marlon James. And this is the book club pick at my work for the month of April. And my colleague had signed up for the book club and he got a free copy of the book, but he'd already ordered it. And so he told me, join the book club. He gave me his copy of the book. We did not realize when we agreed to do this, this is the second book in a trilogy. And I thought it might be because I remember people talking up Marlon James's first book in this trilogy a couple of years ago. And I thought, well, maybe it's not connected. Maybe this is a standalone. No, it is the second book in a trilogy. So now he and I both have to read book 1 of this trilogy and then read this before like the 15th of April. I don't know that it's going to happen. I just don't know. I'm worried about us. I'm really worried for us because he started the first one and he was like, it's not a vibe. I don't think I'm going to get into this. So I'm kind of scared. I'll be the first to tell you I don't know anything about this, but I feel like now I'm kind of a part of the book club, so I have to commit to it and I have to read book 1 and go into this one. So we'll see. I'll keep y'all updated. I do know it's an epic fantasy. We have The Last Russian Doll, which was also a book of the month pick for me this month. And I am personally really excited about this one because this flew off the shelves for book of the month. And I think it like automatically sold out when they opened up their selections for March, which is great for them. But I think it's going to be more generational. I think it's going to go into multiple different decades and follow multiple members of the same family. Sometimes that works very well for me and sometimes it does not. And so I am looking forward to this one, but I feel like it might be very hit or miss for me. So I will let you know. Last but not least of the book of the months is Babel, which is very high on my TBR and is potentially going to be my next read after Jade City if I don't automatically order the other 2 books in that trilogy and just read through those because I'm obsessed. I'm just obsessed. But I think I'm also going to be really obsessed with Babel. I'm kind of in a dark academia mood, and I'm also kind of in a Victorian or historical fiction mood because of Katie's book. So I think this will really scratch that itch. It's really long, and I think I've held off on this because I know I'm going to enjoy it. And part of me also really wants to annotate this, wants to take notes on this, because I think the themes are going to be more interesting to me than what the actual plot of the book is. And so I'm really excited. I think this is one that I will probably pick up very soon in the next couple of weeks. Next, we have 6 Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. And I'll tell you, I have started this. I got to page 24. I think the reason I put this down is that this was reading far younger than what I thought. 6 Crimson Cranes is a retelling of a fairy tale that is one of my favorites because Daughter of the Forest by Juliette Marillier is a retelling of the same fairy tale. And I think I'm going to be pretty hard on this because I have seen that fairy tale retold to perfection before, but I also think this was written for the younger YA audience. To me, the writing of this, even that early on, was skewing fairly middle grade for me. And I just don't think I'm a middle grade person. I really, truly don't. And so I am going to continue on with this because, I mean, I just was pulled in by the gorgeous covers. But I DNF'd Elizabeth Lim's other series. And so it does make me kind of concerned. I wonder if she's just not the author for me. But I am still really excited about this. And every now and again, I just feel like I need a palate cleanser. I need a YA fantasy to help me from falling into a slump. And so I think I'm going to save this for that. Next, we have Murder Underground by Mavis Doriel Hay. I read a classic mystery by Mavis Doriel Hay back at Christmas last year, and I loved it. It wound up actually being one of my favorite books of the year. And I just found her writing so compulsive, and she actually only wrote 3 mystery novels, including that one. So I immediately ordered the other 2, and this is one of them, Murder on the Underground. And it's about a woman who was found murdered in a tube station. I think it's going to be good because to me, the writing was easily what made that Christmas mystery of hers so good. I just was really in love with the way the book was written. I'm gonna save this and carry this to the beach the next time I go because sometimes I like to read something kind of pacey. We then have These Violent Delights, which is kind of a classic of the dark academia genre. Many people love this, but many people also hate it. I personally think I'm probably going to be obsessed with it. And so that's kind of why it has lived on the TBR stack ever since, because I thought when I picked it up back in December, I thought I would probably pretty immediately pick it up, although that clearly has not happened. This is one I feel I can probably move onto a shelf and I won't forget about it because I kind of have a dark academia section on my shelves. So maybe this one can move away from the TBR pile, but I feel like once it moves off the TBR pile, I'm gonna forget about it. We have The God of Endings, which was one of my most anticipated releases of the year. This is a literary fiction that is about a vampire. And this is very high on my TBR. I am not moving it from the TBR shelf. I think I will probably get to this in April. It's my goal to get to this in April. Since it has released, I have really not heard very many reviews of this, so I have no idea what the general opinion of this book is, but I feel like it's such a me book. I feel like the setup is just something that really agrees with me, so I'm gonna give it a go. Then we have Lodore by Mary Shelley, which is also extremely high on my TBR and is something that I planned on starting the day that I got it, but for some odd reason, I just didn't do that. I guess because I was probably in the middle of several other things, as is usually the case. And so this is one I would also like to get to this spring, and I think that's probably doable. I don't know if it will get done in April. That would be great, but I think probably May or June will be when I get to this. We have Severance by Ling Ma, which I am currently in the middle of. I have for some odd reason put it down. I really don't know why. This is a book that I have heard about everywhere. It was really a booktube darling a couple of years ago, and it is a pandemic book. So keep that in mind if you want to read it. I think it's really interesting just how the conversation in this book around the pandemic that they're experiencing is very similar to how we treated our current pandemic. And so this book is very interesting for a lot of different reasons, but it's very literary and it's very low stakes, weirdly enough. To be something about kind of the end of the world, it doesn't feel very high stakes or stressful to me to read. And so I don't really know why I put this one down. I'm definitely gonna have to come back to that. I'll leave that on the currently reading shelf. I also have Those Who Walk Away by Patricia Highsmith, which you know I picked up because this was Venice on the cover. And so I think this is also a classic crime novel that is set in Italy. I know very little about it, but I really enjoy Patricia Highsmith. I went through a phase a couple of years ago where I listened to basically every audiobook of her work that they had on Audible Plus, and I really enjoyed listening to her novels. And so this one is one I've not heard very much about. I don't know if it rates very highly for fans of hers, but I'm really intrigued. And so I do think I'll probably put this on the shelf though, just to make space. We have Sylvia's Lovers by Elizabeth Gaskell, which is just going to go onto my Oxford shelf. This is one I fully intended to get to when I picked it up back in December again. But I think now, I know myself. I know I'm going to save this until Booktober this year. And so I might as well go live on my Oxford shelf. But I think this might also be a good option to carry to the beach because it's kind of a seaside set novel. I believe it's set in Whitby, which I love. And I've also always heard this is the closest thing she wrote to a sensation novel. I don't know how accurate that is, but I am very intrigued by that tagline. And so I'm gonna move this onto my Oxford shelf, but I definitely won't forget about it. Maybe this is also one I should carry to the beach. We have Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead, which was an awards darling last year and is a historical fiction about a female pilot, kind of akin to Amelia Earhart. I have heard such mixed things about this. Some people really loved this, believed it deserved all the accolades it got, and some people really just thought this was so run-of-the-mill dual timeline historical fiction. I would love to know how I fall, but it is so long. I don't think this is a current priority for me. So I'm just gonna go put it on a bookshelf and it will come to me at the right time. I will pick it up at the right time. We also have Castle Skull, which is another kind of classic mystery that Vintage publishes. And this is John Dixon Carr, who I have heard mixed things about. I think he wrote something that inspired Hitchcock. And so his mysteries are really rather dark for the golden age of mysteries. And I'm kind of intrigued by that. I really picked this up because it took place in Germany. And I thought that was so interesting, and I don't often see Germany as a setting, especially in terms of classic mystery novels. So I'm intrigued by this, but I'm going to make a little shelf of these, I think, because I have a few of them, and I think they are just so cute. The spines are really pretty, and I think I'll just put all of these together. We then have My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Ottessa Moshfegh. I personally think I'm going to be obsessed with this. Some people have told me that I will, but some of y'all have told me that I will absolutely hate it. I am intrigued to know where I will fall. And I think it's going to be very interesting, again, thematically. I think the themes here are going to be far more intriguing to me than the actual plot of the book or the characterization. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what this book is discussing and how it discusses it. And so this is very high on my TBR. Here it is. This is the other book that I'm currently reading. So I'm in the middle of 4 books. Help me, SOS. So this is Horace's Complete Odes and Epodes, which I have been flying through, but I have been reading piecemeal. So this is ancient poetry, and I'm about halfway through this. Sometimes I fly through these. Sometimes I take more time with it because I want to make notes on a particular ode or epode. I really like Horace. Horace is one of my favorite ancient poets, and I think he's really, really fun and easy to read. And so this is on my currently reading stack. We then have Berlin Alexanderplatz, which was a gift from Svea. And so she also gave me My Year of Rest and Relaxation and Severance for Christmas and my birthday last year. And this is a German classic, but it's a modern German classic. And I am so excited about this. I think people are tortured by this in Germany. Like, this is something that they teach you in Germany when you're in school. This is one of the big books you have to read. Correct me if I'm wrong if you were German. But tell me also if you were German, do you love this? Because I see mixed reviews. Like, some Germans really love this and some Germans really hate it. I am very, very intrigued by this. It's quite long, but it's not nearly as long as I thought, and the font is not that bad. And so I really love these editions as well. I think another goal of mine would be to create a shelf of these Penguin modern classics, because I really love the mint green spines and I have a few of them. And so I think that might be pertinent to do probably pretty soon. We then have Song of Silver, Flame Like Night, which was a pre-order for me and one of my most anticipated reads of the year. And I unintentionally DNF'd this. I got to page 50, and this was very dense. Like, there was just a lot of world building in this. The magic system was complex and very interesting. And I was reading it while just a lot was going on, and I don't think I gave the book enough time. I don't think I gave it enough focus. And so this is one I definitely intend to come back to, and I think because it's semi a DNF, I'm going to keep it on a currently reading stack rather than a TBR stack. It's fine if the books that are on the nightstand are books that I'm currently reading. But if they're just TBR books, they need to go. I think they need to find their place on a shelf somewhere. Last but not least, we have kind of 2 random books that are manga that I picked up at Five Below. And so we have Attack on Titan, Volume 1. I have heard from many, many people that I would just eat up Attack on Titan, that I would love it, and specifically that I would love the anime, but I just don't want to become an anime girly. I don't think I have it in me. I have too many fixations. So I thought I would start with the manga, and Five Below had such a good deal on this. To get a manga for $5 is beyond a good deal. I mean, it's a steal at that point. They're almost giving it away because manga is so expensive. So I have this just for when I need something fun. And I also picked up Volume 2 of Sailor Moon. This is Codename Sailor. I just love her. What can I say? I'm obsessed with Sailor Moon. I just love her. And at this point, I feel like I could read these out of order and I'm not going to miss much. There's something very episodic about the mangas of Sailor Moon. So I think I could probably read this whenever. But both of these, I think I am going to wind up putting on a shelf just until I'm ready for them. I don't think they need to be in a stack of priorities or kind of a currently reading shelf at all. So I'm going to move these away. Oh my gosh, look how cute she looks. I love her. So we cleaned off my stack of TBR books. I'm really proud. I think I'm gonna let a lot of these go home. They're gonna go live on a shelf. And I'm going to keep only the books that I am currently in the middle of and the books that are an immediate priority for me on my nightstand moving forward. As I stated, this is not everything that is on my physical TBR by any stretch of the imagination, but they are the stack of books that I am the most interested in currently, that I'm the most excited about reading currently. And so I do think what I'm going to do overall in my bookshelf overhaul series is I'm going through it. And I really am going to divvy out books that I haven't read and books that I have. And I think that will be very helpful to me in the future. But that's my current TBR stack. I would love to know if you have read any of these, which ones you would prioritize. And I would also love to know what's currently on your TBR. But that's going to be all for me today. I hope you're all having a great week. Happy reading. Goodbye.